In the winter of 1793, a young woman's coffin was opened in Rhode Island. What they found inside would spark a terror that swept through 2 states and change how America understood death itself. They believed the dead were walking. They believed tuberculosis was the work of the undead. And in their desperation, they did something so shocking, so desperate, it became the last act of vampire hysteria in American history. This is the New England Vampire Panic. Foster, Rhode Island, December 1793. Population, fewer than 200 souls scattered across frozen farmland. No doctors for miles. No understanding of germ theory. No mercy from the consumption that swept through New England like a biblical curse. In the 1790s, tuberculosis killed 1 in 7 Americans. They called it consumption, the white plague, the wasting sickness. A person would cough blood, waste away to bone, and die gasping, sometimes over the course of a single winter. The Brown family of Foster knew the terror well. Mary Eliza Brown was 24 years old. She had already lost her mother to consumption 2 years prior. Her father, George, watched his wife decline, watched her die, and prayed his daughter would be spared. She was not. Mary Eliza Brown died on September 6, 1793. Her body was placed in the family crypt, a basement vault beneath the meeting house, wrapped in linen, sealed in wood. Her father believed this was an ending. He was wrong. 2 years later, Mary Eliza's sister Ruth began to waste, coughing, bleeding, the same death, unfolding again. George Brown stood helpless as his second daughter followed his wife into darkness, and then his son Edwin showed the first signs. The family was being erased. George Brown, desperate and rational to his core, consulted with local physicians. Their diagnosis was consistent: consumption. Their solution: none. But whispers had already started in Foster. Whispers older than reason. Whispers that said the dead were not truly at rest. That Mary Eliza, beneath the meeting house, was still hungry. In 1796, a local doctor named Harold Metcalf proposed an experiment. It was not medicine. It was alchemy born from terror. On May 10, 1796, they opened Mary Eliza Brown's grave. 3 years had passed. They expected dust, decay, and closure. Instead, they found something that would freeze the blood of every witness present. Mary Eliza's heart still contained liquid blood. It should have been solid, desiccated, gone, but it wasn't. We know now why this happened. Tuberculosis patients in sealed cold crypts undergo a specific type of decomposition. Chest cavity fluids accumulate and remain liquid in freezing temperatures, a phenomenon called hydropneumothorax. The heart, immersed in this fluid, appears fresh. It appears alive. But in 1796, to the terrified citizens of Foster, it appeared as evidence. Evidence that Mary Eliza was not dead at all, that she had been walking at night, feeding on her family, spreading her curse through blood. One witness wrote, "The heart was still fresh and contained considerable blood. We believed we had found the source of infection." They made a decision that day. They removed Mary Eliza Brown's heart and burned it in the blacksmith's forge. They believed that by destroying it, they would stop the spread. They believed they were saving the town. Her son, Edwin, would be dead within weeks. The burning of Mary Eliza's heart did nothing to stop tuberculosis in Foster, but it did something else. It marked the last documented case of exhumation-based vampire hysteria in America. Think about what they were facing. A disease that looked supernatural because it was incomprehensible. A young woman with a liquid heart that appeared to defy the natural laws of death, and no other explanation except the oldest one in human history: the undead walking among them. In the darkness of medical ignorance, the dead became monsters because the living had no language for their fear. But here's what historians often miss. Mary Eliza Brown was not the first. Across Rhode Island and Connecticut, at least 12 documented exhumations occurred between 1790 and 1799. The case of Lemuel Cheswell in Connecticut in 1799 followed the exact same pattern: unexplained death, family decline, exhumation, and intervention. Most were simpler. They removed organs and reburied them facing downward, believing this would trap the spirit below. But the impulse was identical. The desperation was identical. What we call superstition is often just science waiting to be born. Here's the unsettling part. After 1800, these exhumations stopped abruptly. Not because people suddenly understood tuberculosis, not because the disease disappeared. They stopped because authorities, church officials, the state government began suppressing them. They became embarrassing, uncivilized, a stain on New England's growing reputation. The records were buried as deeply as any body. It wasn't until historians in the 1990s, nearly 200 years later, pieced together town records, church documents, and family journals that the full scope of the panic was understood. We didn't solve the mystery of the vampire. We just learned to be quiet about our fear. The New England vampire panic teaches us something we're still learning. When science fails, when death comes unexplained, human beings will find an explanation, any explanation. We will burn the heart of the innocent. We will exhume the graves of our loved ones. We will do desperate, terrible things in the face of the inexplicable. 230 years after Mary Eliza Brown's heart was burned, we face new unknowns, new illnesses, new fears. The question isn't whether we do better now. It's whether we're truly as far from Foster, Rhode Island as we believe. Mary Eliza Brown was not a vampire. She was a young woman who died of a disease her world had no cure for, and whose body became evidence in a desperate human equation. Suffering plus ignorance equals myth. Her grave still exists in Foster. The meeting house still stands, and, somewhere in the archives, her burned heart is remembered, not as the resting place of evil, but as a mirror that reflects what we become when we stop understanding and start fearing. The real question isn't what killed Mary Eliza Brown. It's what we might sacrifice today in our own age of inexplicable loss, if we're not careful. If you felt something in that story, if you wanted to understand what drives ordinary people to extraordinary acts, subscribe to the channel, because every story in history is a story about fear becoming flesh. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you heard the story of Mary Eliza before? What's the most disturbing historical panic you've discovered? Stay curious, stay skeptical,